an audiobook coach and producer who has spent 30 years working in the entertainment industry. 14 of those years were spent at 20th Century Fox, working on the studio lot in LA as a feature project manager. He also has over 20 years of experience as a re-recording mixer, sound designer, and music composer for many films, TV shows, and industrial videos. After leaving the entertainment world in 2020, Robert founded Robert Lane Coaching and created the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program, which helps published non-fiction authors record, narrate, and publish their audiobook on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books in just 6 weeks. Robert is also a best-selling author with his book, Lights, Action, You, as well as an award-winning filmmaker. He lives in Sedona, Arizona. Thanks a lot for being on the podcast, Robert.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. You must have so much knowledge. Audiobooks is just a massive area for authors, but it's something that is quite foreign to a lot of people. So I thought if we could just begin, could you just share sort of how fast the audiobook market is growing? Because it's quite a new addition, isn't it?
Yeah, the audiobook world has been growing and expanding over the past several years. I would say it's been growing annually, roughly about 26.2%. Projected revenue for the audiobook world worldwide, we're looking at about $30 billion by 2030. One interesting fact that I do want to share with you is that, which really gives a good example of how the audiobook world has been growing and expanding. In 2019, audiobook revenue surpassed ebook revenue, at least in the United States. So that's a really good sign to show authors how important it is to have an audiobook.
Yeah, wow, sure. Why do you think it's so important for nonfiction authors to narrate their own audiobook rather than hiring someone or using AI?
Yes, I'm a big proponent of having nonfiction authors narrate their own audiobook. Matter of fact, I say this all the time. All nonfiction authors need to narrate their own audiobook. The number one reason, of course, is that it's your story. You've lived it, you've breathed it, you've experienced it. You were compelled, and you have this purpose of why you wanted to publish your book in the first place. You have this incredible story that you want to tell, and only you, as the author, are qualified enough to tell that story the way that you intended to be told. Nobody else can tell your story the way you can. That's your unique stamp. A matter of fact, as a published nonfiction author, you're an author brand. This is your brand. Your voice is already in your written word. So it only makes sense for you as the author to bring it to life in your own voice. Tell your story so the world can hear your voice telling the story the way that you want it to be told. Narrators are great. There are so many awesome professional narrators that are out there. But again, it's still their interpretation. Maybe the way
great for a spy thriller or something to have that sort of theatrically trained, but for nonfiction, it's got to be your passion in your voice.
Absolutely. I mean, narrators are great, especially if you have a fantasy book or a fiction book that has characters and accents, so you want a great voiceover person who can, bring a story like that to life. But, as a nonfiction author, usually it's about personal experience, or maybe, authors that I've worked with are also coaches or entrepreneurs or poets or children's book writers or educators or teachers. So again, it's their personal take on how they express themselves.
Yeah. And you're not going to get a narrator to give your speech, to give your keynote. So you may as well start doing your own books, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, when I wrote my book, I knew that I wanted to do an audiobook, and it would have been great if I had, James Earl Jones or Morgan Freeman, have this great voice do the narration, and they would do a fantastic job. But again, it's still their interpretation. So the way they would tell the stories and experiences that I wrote in my book may not be the way that I would tell it or that I would express it. So that's why it's so important for the author to tell their story in their own voice.
What do you think about the busy business owner who says, I haven't got time, I'll just use AI?
Well, when I say AI, I say AI.
Really?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And time, not having enough time, that's an excuse. It's an excuse because you know what? Honestly, all of us, we have the same 24 hours in a day. How we manage our time is the key factor of why people who are mega successful are mega successful. And people who struggle with time management are the ones who are not as successful, but you can manage your time. You do have the time to do an audiobook. You really do. And the thing with AI is, it's not your voice. It's auto-generated. It's not a real human being. And again, I look at that as cutting corners. You've created your author brand. That's who you are. Your unique style is your brand. Your ebook, your paperback, your hardcover, and your audiobook, those are your products. You have to make sure that what you're presenting out to the world is the best quality and best representation of you as the author. AI is not going to cut it. So I highly recommend not going that route.
Because, the person obviously made the time to write the book unless it was ghostwritten. But if you made the time to write the book, it's quicker to narrate your own book. I completely agree. What are the typical kinds of costs of creating an audiobook? For a first-time author, can you just kind of break down, and they're thinking, I'd love to do it, but how much is this going to cost me? And this is US dollars.
Yes, this is US dollars.
Not Australian dollars.
It depends on there's various production companies. It can range from $2,500 to $6,500. And it depends. And that 9 out of 10 times that doesn't include coaching. It doesn't include, like, if you want to narrate your own audiobook, you really should have an audiobook coach. Not to just promote what I do for my coaching business, but just like having a book coach. When I wrote my book, I hired a book coach because I knew that. Yes, and you're a book coach too. So that's what you do. You hire the people that can help you create something fantastic, and it's worth the investment. It really is, because when it comes down to, here's your self-published book and here's your traditionally published book, and you put them side by side, and you can't tell which is which, and that's what you want. And having, a coach like yourself guiding an author through the process is such a great thing. And then, a coach will help you find a great editor and formatter and book cover designer and all the other people that can help, create this wonderful work of art, because you are creative. As an author, you're creative. Absolutely. So you don't want to cut corners. Again, it may sound expensive, but maybe just going over a little bit of what the process is to create an audiobook would help a little bit. When you record an audiobook, your book is divided up into sections, and you record it into sections, and that's how you upload it for publication. So, for example, in my book, Lights, Action, You, I have 14 chapters in that book. Well, that's 14 audio files right there. Then you have opening credits, dedication, foreword, introduction, acknowledgments, closing credits, other things that people put in their books. Those are all separate audio files. So when you're recording your audiobook, you're doing them a section at a time. Once you have that done, then you have audio post-production, and you have to take your files or give them to an audio editor to make sure that they're clean, that they sound fantastic, and most importantly, that they meet the exact specifications for publication. Because you don't want to record your audiobook and then upload it to Audible and they're like, rejected, because something is not to their specifications.
Yeah, you don't want to have to start again. I'm so interested to hear, as an audiobook coach, what are some of the is it mindset issues that people come up against? When I recorded my audiobook, I did it in a studio in Sydney, and I just there was a sound engineer though, but he was like, relax, go. And I gave myself a headache and a sore throat because I was hardly breathing and I was really tense and everything. Can you tell us about some of the ways that you help people with the coaching?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Mindset is key. Mindset is crucial. As a matter of fact, one of the first lessons that I teach in my audiobook coaching program is a mindset lesson, because you have to be grounded. You have to be focused. You have to be in the present moment. You really have to be in the right frame of mind before you even hit that record button. So I give them just a quick exercise, just a grounding exercise to be in the present moment. Find your happy place and tap into the emotion, because again, what makes a great audiobook is the emotion. It's the intangibles. It's the energy. It's what you bring to the table. It's not the things that you maybe can physically feel, but you can emotionally feel. That's what makes a great audiobook. So before you hit that record button, you got to be in the present moment, and you just have to be focused. And a lot of things that I do run into with a lot of authors is a confidence issue, because they've never done it before. And I understand that. It can be daunting. When you put a microphone in front of your face, it's like, it freaks people out because it's like public speaking.
It is, yeah. It's daunting. I was nervous, yeah.
So we talk about that. We talk about building confidence. I have them, write affirmations. Give me a list of 10 affirmations. Saying things like I am a great narrator. I love my voice. I have a great voice. And you say them until you feel them. Because when you feel them, then you subconscious will believe it. It's a process, so you need to remove what I call bad fuel, your habits and your belief system. If they're negative, let's put that out of the way. Let's bring in positivity. That's what those affirmations do. It brings in good fuel for the subconscious, so that your subconscious will believe you. If you keep saying, I hate my voice, I hate how I sound, oh, this is awful, then your subconscious is going to be like, no, okay, I guess you're just a bad narrator. You'll never be able to do that. But you don't want that. You want to be confident. Love this voice. Love this thing that's right here in your throat. And your head is this wonderful resonator that creates this sound that comes out of your voice, out of your body. It's awesome. Love it. Embrace it. Appreciate the wonderful voice you have, because again, that's part of your author brand. Your voice is in your voice.
A lot of people don't like the sound of their own voice or feel neutral, but I don't think our voice is often a source of pride the way our looks can be a source of pride. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Do you find that to be true?
You just really have to just embrace who you are. Yeah. And everything about what makes you, because it's that uniqueness that draws people to want to buy your book, and will definitely draw people into wanting to listen to your audiobook. So having, the confidence of your voice. And again, that's part of the coaching process of what I do in my program is again, I want to make sure that the authors are doing the best that they possibly can, that they sound terrific, and that they have the confidence to do a great job. And there's a lot of tools and techniques that I teach them to be able to do that.
Wow, fascinating. So how did you get into the audiobook industry, and what kinds of services do you provide? And do you ever work with Australian authors?
I got into the business, as I mentioned with the introduction, I worked 30 plus years in the entertainment world. Started off in radio, so I've always kind of been an audio person, but did a variety of different jobs, on camera, off camera, behind the scenes, audio post-production. I started my audio post-production company, which has been going on for 20 plus years. And then, my last stint in the business was at 20th Century Fox on the studio lot in Los Angeles. But that was more, like you mentioned, a feature project manager, which is more on the corporate side of things. So it's kind of like the whole gamut of the business. So when I left the business, I wanted to just do something that I felt would be more fulfilling. And I've always loved being able to help people and coach people. And so I first became a career coach slash life coach and was helping people with that. And then I decided to write the book. So I wrote my book, and the book is basically a variety of stories and experiences of me working in the business, but tied to each story is a tool or technique or a lesson that I can teach people of how to navigate through, a variety of work situations. So it's not just, just about for people in the entertainment business. Matter of fact, it's really for people not in the business. It kind of gives them an inside view of what it's like to be in the business. But there's lessons to be learned that you can apply, to your life. And so, so after I did the audiobook, I did the audiobook for my book, and then I had other authors asking me if I could help them with theirs because they wanted to narrate their own book. So I kind of skewed my coaching program and created the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program to really specialize in helping and focusing on nonfiction authors and having them do their audiobooks. So it's been great. And I tell you, I have listened to some really great books.
Yeah, I bet you have. You must be really in demand because this is, increasing demand, but little known. This is a new kind of technology for a lot of people. Yeah.
And then I know you mentioned about Australian authors.
Yes.
Since I do work virtually, I can really work with anybody. And the one thing that I do is if there's an author who's interested in the program, we do a Zoom audio consultation call before I enroll anybody, because I want to talk to the author first, and I want to make sure that we resonate with each other, and I want to find out more about their book. I want to find out about their marketing strategies. What is it that they want to accomplish with the audiobook? How do they want to use it to maybe help promote their business or maybe boost sales for their ebook, paperback, and hardcover? Because then that gives me a really good idea of, do you want to be exclusive with your distribution or non-exclusive, depending on who you're using as your distributor? In the United States, I focus on ACX, which is the distribution platform for Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books, which I know does get distributed in the United States. If you are, let's say you're exclusive with ACX, that does get you in United States, Canada, UK, Ireland, Australia, Japan. So you are in those markets. But if you want to be non-exclusive, you can be if you want to have your book available on other distribution platforms. But again, it really comes down to, what is your marketing strategy? What's going to work best for you? Is it being exclusive? Great. If it's not, let's say you have more sales of your book on the Barnes and Noble website or somewhere else, then be non-exclusive, because that's what works for you. So those are things that we talk about, before I would even enroll anybody.
So the main two places that an author should be uploading their audiobook to is ACX and Findaway Voices.
Findaway Voices is good. I know Authors Republic is another place that does international distribution. I mainly work and have my clients do ACX just because that's what
really big, isn't it?
Yeah, they have pretty much almost half of the market is done through them.
Yeah.
So it's, you really need to be on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books, because even the general public will, and I see this happening more often, is people say, hey, are you on Audible? Can I grab your audiobook on Amazon? Instead of saying, do you have an audiobook? So they're asking it by brand name. But again, it depends. It depends on what works best for you and what your marketing strategies are.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us about how royalties work? Because a lot of these places, it's a subscription. It's not like purchasing the ebook.
Right. So, for example, I'll first talk about ACX. If you are distributed by ACX, which again gets you on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books, I call it the AAA, Audible, Amazon, Apple.
It is a AAA, yeah. The big boys.
If you're exclusive with them, they pay a 40% royalty. If you're non-exclusive, they pay 25%. Now, with Findaway Voices, they say they pay an 80% royalty rate, but there are stipulations to that. So, for example, let's say you're being distributed on Findaway Voices. Now, the retailers that they distribute to usually take about a 50% cut of that retail price. Then Findaway Voices takes that 50% that's left. They take 20% of that, and then you get 80% of that. So, let's say your audiobook is a $6 retail price. Well, it's really $3 minus 20%. That's where your 80% is. So, but then again, there are aspects of Findaway Voices that actually pay better than ACX does. But then again, you have to balance, okay, what about distribution? Am I being distributed in the places that I need to be distributed, through Findaway Voices, or is ACX better? Again, it all depends on what your strategy is.
What would your advice be for, say, a life coach author about whether to go exclusive or wide? They just want to make money from royalties.
Okay. Yeah, I guess depending on what your goal is. If your goal is to just boost sales, then that's what your marketing strategy would be. Yeah, it would really depend, because sometimes being anywhere and everywhere may not be the best strategy, because it's almost like too many choices and then people aren't able to find you. So if you can say, hey, I'm on Audible, or I'm on Barnes and Noble, or my audiobook is available in every library in the country.
Yeah.
Great.
But is it then the onus is kind of on the listener to go and get an Audible subscription?
When you get paid, like you get your 40% if you're exclusive, and you get your 25%, whether it's subscription or whether they buy it outright.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the discrepancies that people have had with Audible, with ACX, is that I don't know, I'd have to verify if this is 100% true or not, but people were saying that they tend to give better coverage for people who are exclusive than non-exclusive. But I don't know if that's a fact or not. There's been debate on that, but
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? It sounds like the KDP exclusive program.
Right.
Yeah, we've kind of gone there naturally, but can you update listeners, please, on what's kind of happening? I know there's been a push to increase royalties, which compared with ebooks, they're not as good, I think is fair to say. Do you think that situation is changing? Like, what's been happening there?
Right. I know we had talked a little bit earlier via email, and you mentioned about Brandon Sanderson, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right, because he had a book that he purposely did not publish on Audible because of this, but there has been a progress. As a matter of fact, one of the things that he was talking to ACX about was, authors need more predictability. We need more transparency in regards to payment. Like where is the money going? And he also discussed about raising the royalty rate, but he did say that things are improving, and that it is definitely moving in a positive step forward. So that's really good news. So I was happy to hear about that.
Yeah, that's great. Because the upfront costs can be kind of high because anyone can buy, well, has a laptop or whatever and can write their book. So it is quite a big investment to record your audiobook well. What I say to clients is that it's not necessarily the return on investment from the royalties, but it gets your book into the hands and ears of people who will not hear it because they do not read books. They listen to books. Would
Absolutely.
you agree with that?
I agree 100%. As a matter of fact, a lot of the author clients that have gone through my program have utilized their book and their audiobook to help promote their coaching business. Matter of fact, I have a couple of authors who've used their audiobook as a sample to send to event planners to book speaking engagements, and it's worked for them. So there are other ways to bring in revenue. Instead of just only being focused on royalties, you have to look at the big picture. Like if I was doing a speaking engagement, and they paid me a ton of money to do a keynote, then, let's say there's 200 people there, I'll bring 200 books and give them away for free,
Yeah, I agree.
So it depends on, again, how you want to market yourself. But, my advice is don't only focus for authors, don't only focus on just the royalties, because having a book, having an audiobook just opens doors to so many other possibilities.
It really does. I also love gifting my audiobook. If it's like a national holiday in Myanmar or something, I'll be like, here's 10 codes, or DM me, and it's, like 10 codes, and then they're all gone. And it's easy to gift an audiobook, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's great. And, again, it's just an extension of your author brand. Now people can hear you. They can hear you tell your story or teach your coaching program or share your poetry, or maybe it's a children's book, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's, it's so great to have that as your unique stamp.
Do you know what, when I'm coaching people as well, if they give me bullet points in the manuscript, I say, it's got to be full sentences, because when you're recording your audiobook, it's just going to sound like you're reading a shopping list. So let's do full sentences, right? I call it the audiobook test.
That's good. Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say that the beauty about doing an audiobook is that there is the freedom to be able to change the way you say something to make it more pleasing to the ear. So instead of, like grabbing your book and then reading it verbatim. So, like if you were doing your opening credits and I said, Lights, Action, You, the guide to master your mindset, overcome work stress, and regain your personal freedom, narrated by Robert A. Lane, written by Robert A. Lane, I am a robot. You wouldn't say it that way. So you have the freedom to say, written and narrated by me, Robert A. Lane. You know what I mean? So you can put your personality into it right off the top, especially if you have quotes. Like I have a quote that, for every chapter. So instead of just saying, reading a quote, who did the quote, and just doing it verbatim, you can say, the quote that opens this chapter is from the movie Jaws. You know what I mean? So you have the freedom to still do your unique voice.
I didn't know that. That's why I need an audiobook coach. I thought it had to be the integrity, it has to match them word for word. That's a very good point to make. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, most of your book will be verbatim, but there are moments where you need to be able to express yourself. Like, what if you have a graph or a chart or something? There's two ways you can do that. One is you can offer supplemental material for people who buy your audiobook and they can download it, which I do, or you can even describe it. Say in my book, I have a chart that shows the percentage of whatever that you're talking about. So there are certain things that you can do in your audiobook to make it more pleasing for the listener.
Interesting. What's the best way for an author to read through their book? A couple of hours a day, 2 big days back to back? What do you think is best for our vocal cords?
What I have my clients do is I have them sign an agreement to themselves. And what that is basically saying, I'm going to work on my audiobook. Maybe it's an hour a day, 5 days a week. Or, maybe it is 2 hours a day, 3 days a week. Or maybe it is 5 days a week. But I want them to have a day and time that they're going to work on their book and have that as non-negotiable. So if something comes up, whatever comes up has to work around their schedule, because that way you stay on track. You can get your book done. You really can narrate your book and get it done in 6 weeks if you stick to your schedule, and it'll work. Again, it comes down to the time management thing that we were talking about earlier. Yeah. But I would say an hour, maybe 2 hours. But again, the key is, if you start to feel fatigued, stop. If you're making mistakes, that means you're tired. Your eyes may be tired, your throat may be tired. Just stop, take a break, get refocused, get regrounded, get into your zone, and then go back. We all have off days. It happens. And maybe, you're ready to record, but it's just not happening. So that's okay. Take a break, go back the next day and do it. And another thing that's really important in regards to doing an audiobook is consistency. You want to make sure that from opening credits to closing credits, that the same energy is there, that, let's say you did chapter 2 yesterday and today you're going to go chapter 3. Listen to chapter 2 just to kind of tap into where was your energy, and then get into your zone and then go for it.
Yeah. I just remember feeling so self-conscious and feeling so stupid, because talking is something I do too much of every day. And yet, why couldn't I just do this simple reading exercise? It was like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I was just overthinking it. And it was the second day I just relaxed and it was fine, because Absolutely. I couldn't keep going the way I was going. But I think that's natural for the first time thing. And, it's quite an intense, it's almost exercise, isn't it? To be intensely reading for just an hour is quite takes a lot of energy.
It does. And a couple of things that I have my author clients do is, first of all, have somebody specific in mind that you're talking to. And I don't mean genre. I don't mean, my market is this. I mean, like somebody very specific. Who are they? Husband, wife, significant other, friend, coworker, somebody that you feel comfortable telling your story to, because having them in mind will help you be more conversational. And you want to be yourself. And just
you don't want to be stilted.
No, not at all. You need to be relaxed, and you will be more conversational, but most importantly, you'll be authentic, because how you wrote your book, this is your authentic word, and in your book, and your authenticity is part of what makes you so unique. So you don't want to fake it. You want to be yourself.
Come from the heart.
Yes.
So do you advocate home recordings? We do not have to book out studios for this. Do you teach people how to get it right?
Yeah, in my program, actually, I provide them with the equipment that they need. That's part of the program. So I send them a professional microphone, headphones. I show them the program that they use to record. There's video lessons, and we have weekly coaching sessions as well. So they have video modules, they have PDF downloads. It's very methodical. But yeah, I have them set up their own studio, their own recording space. You find a comfortable place that's relaxing, that is obviously not the bathroom, because you don't want it. It's very echoey. But you find a nice space. Maybe it's in a bedroom or an office. I've had
or a cupboard.
Yeah.
I
had a client, set it up in his closet. He's like,
it
sounds so good in here, but that's okay. If you're comfortable doing that, that's great. But what's great about that is it's there, it's set up, and you're not bound to someone else's timeline. I got to rent a studio. I have X amount of time. I need to knock out so many chapters. And what if you have a bad day? What if it's not sounding the way you want it to? It's like, well, time's up. see ya. Next person comes in. At least when you have your own studio set up, you can go in, and if you feel inspired at 3 a.m, you can do it because it's already there. You're set up and you're ready to go.
What about background noise? Can that be cancelled out?
Yeah. So part of the program, when you send your audio, you record your audiobook, then you send your files to me, and that's where the coaching hat comes off and the audio editor hat comes on, and then I go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. Some companies are like, oh, we got a program, we just run it through and it cleans it up. It's like, well, to me, that's not good enough because you're going to miss something. What if there's a mispronunciation? What if there's a slur of a word? It's not going to catch that. What if there is like a weird hum or a big truck drives by and there's a rumble and I hear it? You got to, you have to catch these things. So I go through it very meticulously, and I listen to what's happening in the silence. What's happening between words. Is it something that I can edit out? Is there a mouth noise that is too loud? Especially with plosives, consonants that are, like P, B, K. Those
sounds.
Right. Those will pop the mic. So those are things that I listen for when I do the editing. So, but yeah, I mean, then we also do talk about just being awareness, being aware of your surroundings. If you have a home office and let's say you have other people in the house and say, okay, I'm going to record, please, don't disturb me for the next hour, and then take that cell phone and leave it in the other room because you don't want any distractions. You want to be focused and you want to get into your zone when you record. And then, so you're just aware of your surroundings, but things happen, a plane may fly by. The gardener across the street fires up that leaf blower.
Right before the podcast, as I have moved house and I live near Bankstown Airport, so I get helicopters and light planes all the time. Yeah. Usually when I just turn on record for the podcast.
Right, it's like perfect timing.
Yeah. There's things that are beyond your control, but I guess what you're saying is recording at home is optimal because it doesn't matter, but yeah, if you're in a studio, like I had a studio booked, maybe that was part of the pressure I was under. I think I had 2 days or 3 days, and the cost was dependent on how quickly I did it. So I was like, do it perfectly the first time, otherwise the costs will blow out and that kind of thing. So yeah. The goal is, at least in my program, I want to remove all the overwhelm, the stress, the hassle, anything that can be a distraction for just doing a great narration. That's all I want the author to worry about. Just do a great narration. That's it. Don't worry about, audio post-production. That's my job. Don't worry about, like I even upload their files into ACX for them. I do that too.
You don't have to worry about it. So, and if there is any issue, I know about it right away. Once in a while, I'm get a thing that says, "Oh, you're 1 decibel under our requirement." Okay, no problem. Fix it up, re-upload, done, and it's all done behind the scenes. The author doesn't have to worry about it. Don't worry about that.
The royalties. Are they monthly royalties? They're not that frequent, are they? Do they do it monthly or quarterly?
One of the things that Brandon was talking about was
monthly.
Was ACX or Audible changing it from what it was before. I think it was quarterly before.
Yeah, quarterly. Yeah,
it was quarterly to doing monthly. And again, that's part of the transparency of payment and where your royalties are going and who's getting what and all that. So that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. That was absolutely fascinating. Can I just ask a bonus question? When you worked at 20th Century Fox, were you on the set of any movies that we might know?
Okay. I've met some people, some famous people. I talk about that in my book, matter of fact. But in the building that I worked in, I loved the building I worked in because it was the scoring stage. So it was where all the music is recorded for all their films. And it was in one of the original buildings on the lot. It was built in like 1928 or something, just this huge building. And in the area that I worked in was the voiceover stage for The Simpsons. So every Monday, the cast would come in and do their thing and record. And then when they had guests, so I had a chance to meet, Lady Gaga when she was a guest on The Simpsons. I ran into Tom Cruise.
As you
George
and
Clooney.
on The Simpsons, I was actually watching a video of the incredible voiceover actor, the female who does Lisa. She does about 10 voiceover characters on The Simpsons. Their skills are...
Oh, it's amazing what they do. It's incredible. Funny story. I remember I was at the commissary, and standing in front of me was Julie Kavner, and Julie Kavner's voice. It's just Marge Simpson. That's just how she talks. So it's just funny listening to Marge Simpson ordering her coffee.
Oh my gosh! Does she really sound like Marge Simpson?
Yeah, she talks. Yeah, that's just her voice.
Wow.
They're all really great. Like I was more starstruck with them than I was with like major actors. It's fascinating. It really is fascinating.
I mean, The Simpsons, it's kind of mythical. They have a mythical quality to them. They are just, they're beyond famous.
Yeah.
Those voices. Wow, amazing.
Probably the nicest person I've ever met was Robert Downey Jr.
Really?
He was there to do some voice over work, and so I went to the kitchen. We have a small kitchen. It was nothing fancy in our building, and he was there with someone else, a friend or somebody, and again, studio policy is like, he's there to work. We're there to work. It's not, you got to
be cool,
be professional. So I'm heating up, I'm going to the microwave. I'm heating up. I'm not even facing him, and then I hear, hey, wait, what you cooking over there? I turn around, and it's him. I'm like, oh, it's leftover Korean food. He's like, oh yeah, Korean food. And he says, so he stands up and he outstretches his hand. He goes, hi, my name is Robert. And of course I know who he is, right? So I was like, really? I go, my name's Robert too. And so he laughs. We shake hands, and he goes into we have this big discussion about kimchi and Korean food and the best Korean restaurants in Los Angeles. Just some crazy stuff, but he was just so cool and just so down to earth, really, really nice guy. And you know what? Most of the big name celebrities are nice. The people who work for them, well, not so much, but
because they have to. Why? Because they.
It's I work for Tom Cruise, or I work for George Clooney, or and I'm like, I don't care.
It doesn't mean you're not a nice person. You should still be a nice person.
Yeah, and you know what? The actors who realize and are grateful for what they are able to do and the success that they've had, those are the ones who appreciate that and appreciate the people who've supported their career. And those are the people who are nice. It's the ones who have, egos and attitudes, and even the ones. And it's usually the ones who aren't like the A-listers. It's the ones that are all, they're clawing their way up the actor ladder. But, it's like, no, the ones that are really genuinely nice people are the ones who are super famous. And that's why, because they respect others just as they want people to respect them. And that's,
Yeah, you've confirmed my theory. I'm glad to hear that, because some people say only psychopaths get to the top in the corporate world. But
it's true.
And sometimes it's true, but I do like to think that it is the people who are very nice and kind, and they retain their decency no matter how famous they get. I heard, not to gossip, but I heard that Winona Ryder was very difficult, and and her career suffered as a result because she was difficult to work with. You get a reputation. So I thought,
Yeah.
okay, you know, you have to be a professional as well as a great actor. No one will put up with total nonsense, will they? No matter how famous you are? I don't know.
You know, it's like yes and no. There are some actors who are super famous, who are, you know, giant pains, you know, but it's because the studio knows that they're going to make money off of them. It's all about, you know, money for them. So they'll deal with it to a certain extent, for some. But you know what? In the big picture, eventually, it's going to bite them. It'll come back to them. You know, it's funny. I used to do extra work on movies and TV shows and stuff and that. And one of the movies I worked on. Let's see, TV. This is going back quite a ways. I was on like 6 episodes of Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Cool.
I was, let's say, The Majestic with Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey is a genius.
You know what? He's actually a really nice guy. And it's funny, the first day that I worked on that movie, I was off camera, and I was supposed to feed lines for other characters while they were filming him, and the the production the production director or assistant was like, don't talk to him, don't look him in the eye, don't do this, don't do that, you know, he doesn't like this, he doesn't like that. So we go in there, and he looks and he smiles and he says hello, and it's like, come on. Yeah. You know, you're creating this persona of this actor that's not even true. He was really nice, you know. You could look at him in the eye. He wasn't going to, like, you know, get this person away. So, yeah.
Wow, it just sounds so fascinating and glamorous. Totally amazing. Thanks for being so generous with your time. I could just talk to you for another couple of hours about all your amazing movie life that you've had, and I will have to buy your book, which is Lights Action You. And your website is robertlanecoaching.com and Instagram, Robert A. Lane.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is Robert Lane Coaching. It's Robert Lane Coaching.
Instagram. Okay.
Yeah. Everything's Robert Lane Coaching now. Sorry about that. I guess I gave you an older.
No, well, that's why it's good to check. I should have asked you to do it. But thank you so much for talking to us down under. We'll be very excited.
My pleasure.
And I know where to send clients to make the highest quality possible audiobooks. So thank you very much, Robert.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You know, again, just have people go to the website and book a call. It's free. You know, love to talk with you and see if I can help you with your audiobook. And you know what? One day I really do want to go to Australia. I really want to. I've never been. I really would like to.
Well, you must come to Sydney.
Absolutely.
I'll buy you a coffee.
I'm in.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, Robert.
All right. Take care.